Welcome to the Vendio webinar on getting ready for the holiday selling season. My name is Nathan, and I'll be showing you how to leverage your Vendio account to get ready for the holiday selling season, as well as some general tips and things to consider. Please note that this webinar is not meant to replace general planning for the season, but should be looked at as a supplement to your normal planning. There will be a time for questions at the end. Please go ahead and type your questions into the question box in the little widget during the webinar, and we will get to those at the end. During today's webinar, we will be covering topics including how your planning might need to change this year due to the global pandemic, how to edit your Vendio inventory stock levels in bulk, how to list your seasonal items quickly and across marketplaces, how to use Vendio reports to prepare for the season, and some other general suggestions to make sure that you are ready. First, let's go ahead and consider how things might change this year due to COVID-19. You've likely heard a great deal of talk about what to expect this year, and I'm sure you will also hear some of that here as well. However, the one most important piece of advice that I want to give you is to expect the unexpected. We simply don't know what will happen this holiday season, and neither does anyone else. If someone tells you they know for sure how this holiday season is going to work, they're just not correct. They may guess right, but they do not know for sure. The second most important piece of advice that I want to give you is to not make any bets that you can't afford to lose. Let me give you an example. If you think that your sales are going to quadruple this year, then you might want to buy 4 times as much stock as normal. And then if your bet turns out to be wrong and you're still able to sell that stock later without any issues, then you might want to just go ahead and cross your fingers and take that bet. Then if you're wrong, it's no big deal. You can still sell the stock throughout the rest of the year. On the other hand, if you need to borrow money to buy that stock, and maybe you can only sell it during this time of the year, then it might be a bet that you can't afford to lose. In that case, you might be better off buying less, selling out early, and selling less. You probably don't want to take the risk that you get stuck with a large amount of stock that you can't sell and haven't paid for yet. With all that in mind, the general consensus in the e-commerce world this year is that customers will be buying early and they will be buying online. Depending on what you sell, this means that you're likely to get more orders than normal and you're likely to receive them earlier than normal. In fact, in your communications with your customers, you should encourage them to buy early. The shipping industry is expecting to be overloaded this year, and that means slower shipping than normal. I've already noticed some of those issues just with my own personal packages, and it's only October, so it'll probably get worse as the weeks go on. Also, the last minute shoppers are not nearly as likely as normal to receive what they ordered in time. And so you definitely want to encourage those buyers to purchase from you as early as possible. Also, do keep in mind that the economy's been very erratic this year, and we really don't know what it's going to look like next week, let alone next month. So depending on what happens with the economy, your sales could either be much higher or much lower than expected. Now, one last thought on this before we start looking at how you can better leverage Vendio this season. I'd like you to take a minute and really think about what you sell. Think about whether people are more likely or less likely to buy items like the items that you sell this year. This is going to be different for everyone. Some sellers are going to find a massive increase in sales this year. Some will get a massive decrease, and others are going to stay about the same. To give you an example, sellers of Halloween-related items are generally not doing very well this year, but sellers of home office products are generally doing extremely well. There's just so many factors to consider that you can only make an educated guess, but do take some time to think about what you sell specifically so that the guess that you make is as educated as possible. Also, if you aren't already part of a social media group that focuses on the types of items that you're selling, now is definitely the time to join one and get the thoughts and opinions of other sellers like yourself. All right, Let's go ahead and move on and take a look at Vendio reports. Vendio reports can usually give you a pretty good general idea of the amount of business that you can expect during the season. As we discussed, this year is very different, but Vendio reports can definitely still be of use. Some of this should also be useful for you in future years when things are a bit more predictable. If you have been using Vendio for sales for over a year, then your data from last year is already in your Vendio account. If you did just start using Vendio, then you can use the data that you're collecting this year to help you prepare next year when that time comes along. And hopefully you have some of your data from last year in a format that you can use and read in order to prepare for this year. In order to pull last year's data from Vendio, we're going to go to Analytics here in our account, and then we're going to select Reports from the drop-down menu. And now we are on the report screen. There are a variety of different reports available to you here that you should find useful. Today, we're going to focus on the sales report, but I would recommend taking a look at the other reports as well, especially the profit report, which can give you a good idea of how much profit you're making and even identify areas where you might be taking a loss where you might need to make some corrections. But today we're going to focus on the sales report. So I'm going to go to the sales tab. And now we're just going to select the date range that we would like to view, and then we're going to click to download the report. This demo account that I'm using today has some really good data from July and August of this year. So I'm going to be showing you data from those months. But for your purpose of planning this year, at a minimum, you should be looking at your data from last November and last December. But I'm going to go ahead and select July for this account. And then we're just going to do July 1st through August 31st. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click the download report button. We're going to go ahead and open that up. And here we have the report of all of our sales that we've received in the months of July and August of this year. All right, so you can get really as detailed as you like, but let's take a few, let's take a look at a few quick things, and these should give you an idea of how busy you will be. So you'll notice that the file is already sorted by date, and this should give you an idea of which days are going to be your busier days and about how busy they'll be. Make sure that you're not just looking at the day of the month. For example, likely Black Friday and Cyber Monday were two of your busier days, but they're not going to land on the same day of the month this year. And so if we take a look scrolling down here, we'll notice, for example, the 16th, 15th, and 14th, especially the 15th and 16th, were pretty busy days. Well, if we look at around like August 5th and 11th or so, we're not nearly as busy as the others. Next, we're going to go ahead and sort the file by either item, title, or SKU. And we're going to do this. It's going to give you a better idea of about which items are selling better. So you want to take a look and see, like, for example, let's see, this item here, there are quite a few of those compared to the other items that are on the list. So you want to perhaps have more of those items on hand for you. If there's a really big seller in there and you don't have much of it in stock, be sure that you try to get more of that now before it's too late. And remember to account for things like the toy of the year. For example, you don't want to get stuck with too much stock of something that was a fad last year and not this year. For example, you do not want to end up with boxes full of baby Yoda dolls that you have to liquidate. All right, and next you want to sort the file by venue, and this is going to give you a better idea of where you are selling more items, and it'll tell you which of your marketplaces were busier during the time of this year last year. So if you take a look here, for example, in this report, we have quite a bit on eBay and quite a bit on Etsy, but not nearly as much on Amazon or in the Vendio store. So that'll just give you a general idea, assuming that this year is a little bit similar to last year. You should expect to have a bit more on eBay and Etsy. All right, something else that can help is to compare last month of this year to last month of last year. And by taking a look at that, you can see it, has your sales volume increased or decreased year over year? Are the same types of items selling this year as last? The chances are that if your sales volume increased, say 20% last month compared to last month of the previous year, then you can probably expect a similar percentage increase this holiday season. So you'll just want to pull a report from your Vendio account with those dates and just compare them to each other. And that'll give you a good idea there. The same methodology can actually be used to help you determine how COVID-19 might affect your sales this holiday season. Do you usually get a bump in sales around Father's Day or Mother's Day, or maybe you usually get more sales around the 4th of July? This is going to depend on the types of items that you sell. But if you've already had a time of the year during COVID where you would normally get more sales, then compare this year to last year around that same time of year. Did you get substantially more or less sales this year than normal for that busy time? Then you might expect a similar percentage increase or decrease this year during the holiday season as well. So basically you can take that time of year that was earlier in the year, but also during COVID, to see what percent your sales increased then. And you're probably going to expect a similar percentage increase or decrease depending on what you sell during this time for the holiday season. All right, next, let's go ahead and take a look at how to easily update your Vendio inventory with new stock that you have purchased. If you don't add the stock to your Vendio inventory, then it won't be available for sale. So hopefully you're already using a shared listing strategy, and this allows you to share your entire quantity across the marketplaces in which you sell. If you aren't using the shared listing strategy, I recommend it for almost everyone. It's definitely something to consider. There are multiple ways to update your stock levels in Vendio. The first way we're going to take a look at is under Items in the menu at the top, and then we're going to go to My Items. All right, now we are on the My Items page. And then we're going to make sure that the box here at the top for quick edit mode is checked. And then this opens up the bulk edit panel to the right. We're going to find the item that we're looking for to edit. So let's go ahead and search for jewelry. And then we pulled up the item that we want to edit. And then we're going to go to the total quantity field, and we're going to double click on that field, and then we can update our inventory quantity. So maybe we have 2 of those now, and we would change that to a 2. And then at the bottom right of the page, just go ahead and click that Save button there at the bottom right. Another way to make these updates is with a CSV file. So in order to do that, we're going to go to Items at the top of the page. And then we are going to go to Import Items. And that will get us to the CSV file import page. Before we take a closer look at the CSV files though, I did want to suggest to you that you make sure you get any seasonal items that you have in stock listed now. A ton of shoppers are already shopping for the holidays, especially this year, and it really pays to get those items in front of them now. And also remember any seasonal stock that you have left over from last year. This is a really good opportunity to get it out of your office, your warehouse, or wherever it is that you store it. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the CSV files here. So we're going to click on the CSV file button. And a CSV file, it's just, if you're not familiar with them, it's just an Excel spreadsheet with your data saved in a specific format. And then you can make changes to that file and then upload those changes into Vendio. And so we're going to go to the link to download our spreadsheet template in order to take a look at the form that you will fill out in order to get those items in. And there's also up here at the top left, this how to prepare your import file link is really, really important. You want to take a look at that document, and it will let you know all the different fields that are in the spreadsheet and all the different values that you can use. And it's all explained in there. It's a pretty extensive document. And especially the first time you are using CSV files, I definitely recommend that you take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and open up the spreadsheet now. And with this spreadsheet, you can either completely create all new items, or you can update your existing items. Both ways can be done, so both are super useful. To update your existing items, you'll just need the item SKU, which is right here. And then you can just fill out only the fields that you have data in that you need to change. If, on the other hand, you're creating a completely new item, the only field that you must have filled out is the title field, and then you can fill in as many or as few of the rest of the fields as you like, depending on what information you want to upload. A good tip here also is to keep a copy of your import file with all the data included. If you originally create your items through CSV, then I would just keep that original CSV file, and then you can just update that file when you need to make changes. Or if you created your items directly within Vendio, or maybe you imported them from somewhere else, you can get an export of your data by going to Items and then Inventory Export. And then you can just choose the fields that you want and go ahead and export a copy of that file. And then you can use that in order to make your changes as well. And then using Excel, it's super easy to just update that one field that you need to change. So for example, maybe you need to change the price of all of the items that you have, and then you can just use Excel to update that one field for all of the items, and then import those changes into Vendio. Okay, let's take a closer look at the fields that are available in the CSV import template. And so for starters, we have the SKU field we already talked about. That's just the product identifier. The title of the item. We have the product identifier fields that are like your UPC or your ISBN, the eBay ID for the eBay catalog item, subtitle of your item, and then your total inventory quantity. So that's the total quantity that you have on hand. The cost to seller, so this is how much it actually cost you to acquire the item, and this is super useful with reporting, especially the profit report that helps calculate how much profit you're making on your items. We have the item price field and the description and the condition and condition notes of the item, and then all the different shipping fields like your item weight and item dimensions and package size and all that good stuff there. The inventory folder where you're storing the item within Vendio. And then we get into some of the optional fields like the website or year made. We got the brand and manufacturer part number, your warehouse location, and then all the different images. You can have up to 50 images per item. So there are 50 different image fields here. We're just going to go ahead and scroll through those. And then we have the custom fields, all of your eBay specific information, like the eBay category information, the listing format, whether it's auction or fixed price, the duration, starting bid if it's an auction, reserve price. Then we get the Vendio store specific information. So we have like the Vendio store categories. If you're putting your items on sale in the Vendio store, those fields are here. And then next we have the variations. So this is if you're selling items with different variations such as color or size, then you would need to use these fields here. That again is all explained in detail in the document on how to prepare your file. But if you do get stuck, definitely reach out to support so that we can help you. And then we have the eBay gallery image, some of the open sky specific information, and finally the eBay item condition here at the end. And so again, you don't need to use all these fields, you just need to fill in the ones that are appropriate for your items. Once you have either created your CSV file or updated the one that you are going to use to update items, you'll want to make sure you save it in CSV format, which is also called comma delimited format. And so that's, you'll do the file save as and just make sure that you select that CSV comma delimited format. And then once you're ready, you can go ahead and upload that file to Vendio by going back to the import items page and then CSV file. And you'll see first option here is import mode or update mode. So you'll need to tell the system whether you are importing completely new items or if you are updating existing items. You also, by the way, can import completely new items and update existing items at the same time with update mode, which is super useful. And then you'll browse for the file that you are uploading here in order to select it. You can choose whether or not to make the items immediately visible in the Vendio store. And then you can go ahead and select the profiles that you would like associated with the items if you're importing new items. And then go ahead and click the Import My Items from File button in order to import your items. Once they've imported, you can also check the status of that import by going to Items, Import Items, and just click this View Import Status button, and that will give you the status of your import. Okay, let's take a look at a great way to list your items on multiple marketplaces at once. One way to do this is to use the Send To option from the My Items page. For example, you might want to send all of your eBay items to Etsy. If you've been using Vendio to sell, then these items should already be in your account. And if they're not, then you can import them from eBay on this import screen by going to the eBay icon here. Once the items are in Vendio, you are going to go to Items at the menu at the top, and then My Items to get to the My Items page. And then you're going to, we're just going to clear the filters here so we can see all of our items. It's showing us the search from earlier. And then you're going to select the items that you would like to import, the items that you would like to send over to Etsy. You can either select individual items by checking the boxes to the left, or you can check this box at the top left to just select the entire page at once. And once you've selected your items, you'll click the Actions button, and then you'll go to Send To. You'll notice that the other venues are available here as well, the other marketplaces that you can send to. And this process is similar for all of the marketplaces that we support. It's a little bit different depending on the marketplace, but it's very, very similar for all of them as well. And for the purpose of this webinar, we will select Etsy. So let's select Etsy there. And now from this page, you can make changes to the products if you need to. So you can see here we have like the price field up here, which we could then copy down. The same with the quantity. If we wanted to make changes in bulk, we would use this line at the top, or we can make changes to individual items by going to the relevant field for it and just making the changes that we need to make. And then once you have made all of the changes that you need to, you can use the publish action button on the right to either save your changes in Vendio only. You can save the changes to Etsy as a draft only. You can save your changes and make the Etsy item live. You can update an existing Etsy item, or you can remove the item from Etsy completely. The options that you see will depend on the item's current status. You can see here, this item's not yet live, so we have the options to only save it, to publish it live on Etsy, or to send it as a draft on Etsy. This one's in a draft state, so we have the options to only save it. We can update and publish it as live. We can update it and keep it as a draft, or we can remove it from Etsy. So the options that you get will depend on the current state of the item. Once you are done selecting those publish options, just go ahead and click the Save All button at the bottom center of the page, and your changes will be sent to Etsy. Moving on to another tip, something you might want to do when you're listing your seasonal items is to list them at a higher price now, and then you have room for a higher discount or sales price as the season progresses. CSV file is great to make those changes. Pretty easy to just change the prices in the CSV file and then upload those changes. But you also can do this from the My Items page. And so to do that, you would go to Items and then My Items. And you'll make sure that that box for quick edit mode at the top of the page is checked. And then you'll select either specific items using the boxes to the left, or an entire page at a time using this box at the very top left here. And then in the bulk edit panel to the right, there's quite a different number of fields that you can bulk edit here. But for price specifically, this is the prices section here where you can make changes to the price. And a great way to do this is you can use either a plus or a minus sign to either increase or decrease the price by a specific dollar amount or a specific percentage amount. So for example, maybe I want to increase the prices of all of my items by 20%. In order to do that, I can go in the price field, click the plus button, select the percent increase, and type in 20 to increase all of the items' prices by 20%, and then click Save at the bottom right of the page, and that change is then made in bulk to all of these selected items. All right, I have two more suggestions for you before we wrap up here. The first one that I wanted to bring up is to make sure that you have a backup plan in case you end up with more sales than you expect. Having a large sales volume, especially if it's larger than you hoped for, can be great, but if you aren't careful, it can end with bad feedback and a damaged reputation. If you're a one-person business, then see if maybe you can get a family member or someone else that's in your bubble that's willing to help you out. Get them trained now. Don't try to train them on your entire business unless that's something that they're willing to do and you have the time for. But instead, pick one or two of the most time-consuming tasks that you have to do and train them on those. The easier to learn and execute and the more time-consuming, the better. And that way, if you do find yourself overwhelmed, then they can jump in and help you out without you having to get them trained on how to do it first. Last, and this is the most important, and especially during COVID, it is absolutely the most important. Remember to take your own holiday. It's even more important when you're not able to go anywhere. A holiday can be at home if it has to. It doesn't have to be travel. Take time to watch a movie, Zoom with your family and friends, go on a long hike on a nearby trail. but definitely make sure you take some time for yourself. Get your own vacation days planned out now or as soon as possible, and then post them wherever appropriate on the marketplaces where you sell so that your customers won't be surprised about your availability. And be sure to have a plan in place in order to monitor for any emergencies that might need your attention while you're relaxing and taking some time off from selling. All right, this concludes the Vendio webinar on getting ready for the holiday selling season. I hope you found the information in this webinar helpful. Let's go ahead and take a look and see if there are any questions. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions, but I did, before we go, want to remind you that if you do need help, then you can always contact support using the help link. It is at the top right of most pages in your Vendio account. So please definitely, if you do need help, reach out to support and we can help you out with whatever you need. Thanks again for joining and have a great day.